Thank you, Chairman. Recent reports have found that nearly 100 million prescriptions are abandoned by patients each year due to surprise costs. For example, the Journal of Managed Care and Specialty Pharmacy found that increased cost sharing above $100 was associated with up to 75% abandonment rate for certain specialty drugs. This suggests that cost is a prevailing consideration for patients' medication purchasing. I think it's fair to say that none of us want to see patients abandoning necessary prescriptions due to high costs. Similarly, we do not want to block the pipeline of continuing Americans' longstanding history of creating innovative, life-saving drugs and therapies that benefit millions of patients. I'm grateful to Chairman Issa for calling today's hearing so we can take a look and kind of scrutinize policy ideas that vow to lower drug prices and ensure America continues leading in pharmaceutical innovation. Dr. Good, do you believe reforming patent law rather than looking towards market-based solutions could present a more effective way to lower drug prices for all Americans?
So there are two issues going on. I think you're talking about also the market access issue. Once complex generics and biosimilars get on the market, they also have to get market share. And there is an issue at that stage as well. But first, they need to get on the market in the first place. And so that's what this patent system reform is about. So with respect to the issue of getting market share, the free market is starting to evolve around that now. But the market cannot evolve around patent system abuse. So you've got to get the generics onto the market in the first place. So even though 90% of prescriptions today are filled by generics, what the Ethic Act would do is it's about timing. It would bring these drugs onto the market sooner. And that's important because patents don't last forever. This is about getting the timing right and making sure that there are no inappropriate delays or extra monopolies being eked out. And so the reason we need patent system reform is because we've got a lot of peer-reviewed data that links patent thickets to delayed access to generics, especially in this country. So I co-authored a paper with Professor Chow, and it was peer-reviewed, so it was rigorously studied. We counted patents, and we compared how many patents were litigated in Canada, the UK, and the US on the same set of drugs, and it was all of the regulatory approved biosimilars at that time. In Canada and the UK, it was 46 and 24 patents. In the US, on the same drugs, it was 344 patents, head and shoulders above the other countries, but most of these were the duplicate patents. We then counted how many months delayed were those same biosimilars in getting access to market. And we found in the UK and Canada, it was 5 months and 7 months, and that's beyond expiry of the basic patents on the drug. So they have some patents there as well. But in the US, it was 2 years and 10 months.
So let me interrupt you there. So is the expectation that expediency and getting those pharmaceuticals to the patients is the most important thing? Are there other benefits that the Ethic Act could result in?
Yes, so the Ethic Act is pro-innovation. Because right now, we see pharmaceutical companies stacking duplicate patents on their old cash cows, when what they should be doing is innovating more unique patents, looking for new uses of these drugs. So this would incentivize them more. Because under the Ethic Act, if a drug had 50 patents on it, and 20 of them were duplicates and 30 were unique, under the Ethic Act, they could litigate those 30 unique patents, and they could still litigate one duplicate from each cluster. So the more patents that they innovate, the more unique inventions, then the more patents they can litigate against competition. So the Ethics Act is discouraging this behavior of spreading out duplicate patents and encouraging them to invent more and more unique patents on the same drug. So it works both sides. They don't lose anything.
Thank you. Ms. Carver, trials for a new drug treatments typically take years, as was just stated, and cost hundreds of millions of dollars. If legislation like Ethic Act was signed into law, what behavioral changes would you expect pharmaceutical companies, if they have, I'm not sure how this would work, but what type of changes would they have to make, the way they function or operate, I guess is the best way to put it?
So the Ethic Act would harm innovation. It would allow generics and biosimilars to infringe valid patents with no recourse for the innovator to enforce those valid patents. And it would be a substantial shift, a seismic shift in the balance of Hatch-Waxman. It would also invite gamesmanship. We see that the way the bill is structured, an innovator would need to pick a patent to enforce from a patent group with no information on which to do it. There would be no obligation for a generic or biosimilar to provide technical information for the innovator to make a decision about which patent to enforce. And there's also nothing preventing them from changing their product as soon as the decision is made. So my view of the Ethic Act is that it would undermine innovation.
I yield back.
The hearing now shifts to Representative Scott Fitzgerald of Wisconsin, and unlike some of the more confrontational exchanges we've seen throughout this debate, Fitzgerald approaches the issue from a practical standpoint. He begins by laying out a statistic that immediately puts the stakes into perspective. Nearly 100 million prescriptions are abandoned every year because patients simply cannot afford them. That number isn't just a policy talking point. It represents millions of moments where someone leaves a pharmacy without the medication their doctor said they needed. Think about what that actually means in real life. It could be a diabetic deciding to stretch insulin longer than recommended. It could be a cancer patient delaying treatment because the out-of-pocket cost is overwhelming. It could be someone with rheumatoid arthritis, multiple sclerosis, or another chronic illness being forced to choose between paying rent, buying groceries, or picking up medication that keeps them functioning every day.